Hello, my name is John O'Neill. I'm an assistant professor of graphic design at the University of Minnesota, and this is part 3 of my demo of how to use HTML and CSS. Uh, in my last demo, I spoke about how I format my resume, and I only use the HTML tags. And I explained in my next video that I was going to use CSS to further enhance the design of my resume. Before I get into all of the details of how to do that, I advise you to look at my last demo file and video on YouTube, and that is called Format and Type Using CSS. So I highly recommend going to this video and watch that before and watch this video to learn how to use CSS to format your own resume. So if you have already watched that video, now I will begin my demo how to use CSS to format my resume. So as the past demos, you need a couple of things. The first thing you need is you need Adobe brackets. It's a free software made by Adobe. You also need Google Chrome, and you also need to have the demo files provided to you. So if you have all these different things, just move forward and begin the demo. So when I left off in my last demo, we end up having a HTML document of my resume that looks like this. Okay, so if I went to Google Chrome, I go to View, Developer, and Free Source, you will see all of the tags that I use, to format this document. And this document does not contain any CSS. So the next step is to take what we have here and to apply CSS to it to further enhance the design of this document. So over here, I have already begun to do that. Okay. You see a couple of things that are different about it from when we left off. The first thing you will see is it has a background color, and the typeface that I'm using is different, and the color of the type is also different. It is brown. So I want to explain to you how I got and how I did that. So if I go to Adobe brackets and I go to HTML resume type formatting on HTML, you'll see that primarily it is the same document as I had before, but there are a couple of different things that are different about it. Most of that appears in the between the head tag. So the first thing that I add is a link to the CSS file. So this is the CSS file right over here. It's called demo01.css. And you can see that that file is right here. It's identified in the link right there. So all of these CSS properties, the values that we get to add into this page is linked to this HTML file. That's number one. Number two, I'll also add a link to the Google Fonts that I'm going to be using for this document. And the link for the Google Fonts contains two different typefaces. Right in here, where my cursor is, where I highlight and build, is one typeface. And the second typeface right here is right there. Okay, and I also include the font weights that I'm going to be using for both of these different typefaces. Okay, so those are the primary changes that I made to the HTML file. Okay, now I'm going to be talking to you about how the double-on-one.css file is affecting the layout of this document right here. So I'll go to the demo-on-one.css file, and we have a body on the body, and as you have saw from my last demo, this is a selector. And then inside of this selector, which is divided by brackets, and I have properties. The properties has values. Okay, so the background color is being used, and the background color has a value, and the value here is the same. That color that you see is the same color that you see here. And the color that you see here, and the value here is brown. So therefore the type is brown. And then I'm using the font family property, and the value that I'm using is open sans right here. And if we go back to the HTML file, you will see that inside of the link for the Google Fonts, I have open sans right in here. Okay, so that is why if we compare the old resume file that I have here and the new one here, that they use the two different typefaces. That is why. Okay. So let's move on to the next HTML output file. So I will go here. Okay. And then I also will go to brackets, and I will go to resume type format up to HTML. And as you see that there's nothing different for this file compared to what we had with resume type format on one HTML. The only difference is that now I'm using a different CSS file. It's called w01 w02.css. Okay, that's the only difference I have with this file. The major difference that you see when I go and open it inside of Google Chrome is now I'm beginning to use a different typeface for the different headers of my resume. So the headers is education, current position, and so on and so forth. So how did I do that? So if I go to w02.css, I begin to have H3, this is the snaggle. And then I use a file family and the typeface right here. And we know that I'm using this typeface for Google Fonts because if we go to the HTML file, you'll see that that name also appears right there. Okay. So that's how I got that. Okay. So again, let's move on to the next file that in the list of files that I have here. So I go to resume type format on 3 HTML, and I would drag this inside of Google Chrome. Now it's beginning to look even better. So if I go to brackets and I open it up in brackets, again, the only differences between this file, the resume type format on3, and the resume type format on2 and on1 is that I'm now using a new CSS file of w03.css. Okay, now in this file you begin to see that that the headings that we had before are now bigger and bigger, and also divided by a rule on top. So how did we do that? So we go to demo03.css, and we added more properties to the H3 snaggle. So we add a font size, margin, a border top. Okay, and you see that the border top is being used as the rule to divide each section of my resume, and the border type is solid and it has a particular color to it. So this color is the same color that you see is the typographic rule right there. Okay. So it's beginning to look more like a resume that I will use for my portfolio website. Okay. So let's go on to resume type formatting of 4. So I go here, mention here. Okay, so as I explained to you before, there's not much difference between the this file, and the other HTML files. The only difference is that I have demo04.css here. Okay, so let's look at the CSS file and what we have done here. The only difference is that I add the tag, the I tag, and I put a code to it. So you can see that all of the tag type that I'm using now has the same code as before. Okay, so let's move on to 05. Again, I get to move this over a bit, drag this, and to make a new tab, what I'm doing is I drag this to the top of the browser and see that there is a arrow pointing down. It makes a different tab. Okay, so if I move this over a bit, now you see that I have a bar on top, and I will first the heading on my resume as white. So you can see how I did that. So how did I do that? Well, I did have to adapt the HTML file just a little bit. Okay. So we go to the HTML and the resume type formatting 05 HTML. We see that I have a div ID called top header, and then and the div, the ID of the div is top header is wrapped around the h1 tag, okay. That's the only major difference that you see here with the with this file, okay. And if I go to the CSS file, we see that that I use the pound sign to identify the ID of the div. I give it background color. So we can see here that this color here is the same as the background of this div right here. And then I use a margin of 0 and pen of 2 em. Okay. So I took away I took away padding. I just wanted to show you what I did, and you can see that depending on the top and bottom on one way, and this is go all the way up to the edge of the bathroom. Okay, so I put that back. I put that back in, so you can see how much nicer it looks when I add that in there. Okay. Okay. So as you can see that that all of the text up to this point is bumping against the edge of the browser window. How can I move this in just a little bit to make my resume look more nicer? Okay, so I'm going to show you how I did that with the next file. So I go to resume, type, formatting, 06. So I move this over, it looks much nicer, okay? And I'll also go to add that to brackets as well. And you can move files up and down in the worker files section of brackets. This so that you can know that. I just wanted to know that. Okay, so as before, the HTML file that I'm using for the resume type formatting of this HTML file is no different from what I have for the resume type formatting of file. Okay, there's no difference at all. I did though. I did add at the frame bottom. I did add a div ID bottom header at the bottom. You know, just to make it more nicer. So if I scroll down, I also have a bottom header like a footer that goes at the bottom of my resume. And if we compare this file to what I have for the file, there's also a difference here, not because it's up against the edge, but as you can see, if I go to the resume type of this HTML file, that I have a nice space between the separate piece of information. So the R5, there is a line on typographic rule that's defining the pieces of type and the pieces of information, but in the 06 file, I put more space in between the separate divisions of information. So how did I do that? Okay, so I go to demo06.css. So as you can see here, with the body tag, with the body synagogue, I have padding of all here. Okay, and then I also add the bottom header as I showed you before. And then I also add, other things to help divide the pieces of information as I described. So that is my demo on how to use CSS to format my resume. Thank you.